Hello there, this is Kuso. I go by a new name every month on the PilotNet Discord, but today I'm here to talk about small squad tactics for NPCs. This is more of a dungeon master, or rather game master, uh, facing video, and it's not quite encounter building as a whole, but it's more about coming up with a standard for your party or your NPCs, and then giving you something to branch off of and expand upon. But this is pretty simple, and I think that it should be educational to people who are really aware of a lot of the aspects to the game, as in the manners of this is what the information is, this is how the game is run, and so on, but aren't really sure how to start with the building of an encounter, or how the game actually works. Like, you're probably just thinking, oh, I can put all these different enemies together and like have them fight the party, and then that'll be fun. And maybe if you want to do that, then sure, maybe that will be fun. But here's something to just kind of think about. Now, one of the things about the NPCs of Lancer is that they've got different frame classes. So here in another window, I've got ComCom open, and you've got artillery, you got your controllers, you got your defenders, you got your strikers, and supports. And here I've got the scout rolled up, and ooh, actually, you probably shouldn't be able to look at this. This is paid combat. Make sure you buy your books, kids. But yeah, you're looking at this, and you got all these different classes. There's, 25 of them available? That's a lot. And maybe you're not really sure on how to start working with this. Now, here in the Roll20 that I've pulled up, this isn't what I would use as a map, but this is all representational, so it's good enough for the purposes of this. Now, what I like to think about when I'm doing an encounter are the three general encounter ranges. So you've got range 1, range 2, and range 3. And you've got some NPCs over here, and then you've got your motley crew of players with art pulled from various Pixiv artists and accounts that I would be happy to credit if you're willing to ask me. So, how do one plan out the encounter? All right, so you got these three ranges: 1, 2, and 3, and the ranges aren't exactly like the range in which the NPC has this weapon or whatever that they can shoot at the players, or really affect the players. But it's more about the distance that the NPCs will engage at the players with, and it's really kind of elastic. So it's not like just a line of ranks as it is here, but really it would be more of a circle around the players. Now, range 1 is where your strikers and your defenders are most likely going to be. These are the ones that are going to be in direct conflict with the players, getting their immediate attention, dealing direct damage, and most likely just drawing their fire away from anyone past range 1. Range 2 is where you're going to be having your defenders, your controllers, and your support. This is more about assisting range 1 units and range 3 units and putting closer range effects on the party. Then in the back you've got range 3, and this is where you want to put your support units as well as your artillery. This is where the weakest and most fragile units that are going to be putting the most powerful effects on the party are going to be. And they're most likely going to be the ones where they're really like weak. Like here, for my example, I've got a scout unit. It's got 8 hit points. It can move fast. It's Evasion is alright, but really, once you get to the scout, once you got it in melee or you just get a good shot on it, it's supposed to be dealt with. And that's what a lot of these range 3 kind of units are. Now, the range 1 units, these are the front line. Right here I've got a Berserker for my example, and wherever these ones are, that's where range 1 is going to be. These are the units where it's dangerous to get close to them, and they're going to be forcing the party to get closer to them, or just generally force them to waste their time having to deal with the range 1 units. That's why assault units are going to be here, or not assault units, but rather striker units. So this is a Berserker. You're going to have the Breacher here because it's got the dual shotguns. Was it the Assassin's going to be here because it's like just got a knife, and it's deadly when it hits, but it doesn't really have any ranged options, right? This is going to be where these kind of units are. You know, like the melee and the CQB kind of weapons and mechs. Then range 2 is where you want to have a lot of elastic units that can move around and react the best to what's going on. They're in the middle, so that's where they're most likely going to be moving forward to range 1 or move back to range 3 to assist and support. And you've got... this is where the priests are going to be, or like the support, or just someone who can be lending a hand to either side and, making sure that things continue to go on smoothly, right? And the range 3 units, they're going to be the ones who are going to be putting the most annoying effects on the party. You also want to put them at a higher elevation as well, so that they'll be able to look over cover and continue to affect the party. That's why I've got the Scout back here, because Scout, it's got this neat marker rifle thing, and then you're going to be putting a Witch here, most likely, if you're going to be including a Witch at all. Don't be surprised at your party if they're mad at you for putting a Witch in, or a Sniper. And Sniper, that's really the perfect example of a range 3 unit. I didn't include one here because I didn't want it to be all damage, 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 So... I like to think of a 4-man squad when it comes to formulating battle tactics, and I got the setup here where you got a range 1 unit, 2 range 2 units, and 1 range 3 unit. And that means you'll have 1 mech who's directly in conflict with the party, 2 giving the party trouble, but most likely not being a direct threat, and then 1 in the way back that's going to be this ongoing issue for the rest of the party. And Lancer, your goal as the GM, it shouldn't be to try to kill the party. I mean, you can, like I said earlier, you can just do that. You can make really tough and annoying enemies to lock the party in place and murder for them, and it's not really fun for the players, and they're not going to want you to run next week. So what I think is really good about this 4-man squad is that it's a good way to it's a good starting point. You look at this and say, alright, what can I change from this? What can I expand upon? So, we've got a Berserker, we've got 2 assault units, and we have a Scout. Now, the assault units are strikers, and generally these will be primed for range 1 combat. But because you've got a Berserker here, the Berserker is better in melee combat, and it could potentially attack them because of its various effects and traits that it's got. So you want to keep the Berserker away from them, instead focus on harrying the party from near distance. So, while these guys, they're up here and, stuck with it. Son of a bitch. Alright, yeah, so you got these 3 guys, they're up here, and, they're fighting the Berserker, rah, rah, rah. Then you're going to want these assault units shooting at the party from a distance. You don't want them to get too close, because then, they might end up getting hit. But then that also gives the party this choice. Do we want to try to move away from the Berserker? Do we want to keep trying to focus our fire on it so that we can then break away and then take out these assault units? That sort of thing. What you really want to do is offer the party these different problems, and then they have to make choices to respond to them. That's kind of the basis of RPGs in general. Yeah, so oh, jeez. Oops. No! Alright, let's keep the screen here. Alright, there we go. Yeah, so the assault units, they've got heavy machine guns. They do 6 damage on a hit and 2 on a miss because they're reliable. And that's way better than their combat knife, which only does 3 on a hit. And, just it pales in comparison to the Berserker. It's one of those things where when you look at what you've got or what you set up for yourself, if you try putting everyone on the same plateau, then they're not going to be working in the same way. So you just want to put everybody where they're best at. And that's part of what you want to do with tactics, planning, and logistics. Put everyone where they're best at. It's like the same thing. You don't have a reason for the scout to be up here, because when the scout is close enough in like this range 1 kind of area, then all it just takes is just going to be 1 or 2 shots from one of these guys, and then boop, scout's dead, and things are pretty much ruined for the encounter, because then it's just a bullet factory. Bullet factory. No, that's, well, that doesn't sound right, but it's something like that. It essentially comes down to just shooting each other, blah 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 blah, and you really don't want your Lancer game to be that, because well, that it's engaging in its own way, but it's not as engaging as it could be. You really want to take the opportunity to what's the word? Heighten it or glorify it. Yeah, you want to make it better for everybody. So anyway, getting back to range 1, the Berserker is the one that you want to get into melee with the players. It's got this rush attack. It's got this rush action where, as a quick action, it can move up to its speed towards an enemy, and then when it gets to the end of it, it gets to do a free attack. And then it can do another attack just as its general skirmish action. And then the first time in a round that it gets hit, then it attacks whoever's closest to it, enemy or ally. So optimally, you can get 3 attacks with this on 1 round, which makes it super dangerous. And on top of this, it's got this feature that gives it resistance to all forms of damage, unless it's got a condition on it, like shredded, slowed, impaired, that kind of thing. So it's 1 unit, and it's at the front, but in a way, you're kind of dealing with the cumulative strength of 3 enemy units at once, so that makes it the priority. And in the back, you got the Scout, and it's in the way back because, like I said, it's fragile and doesn't do actual damage. Unless you decide to out or anything, but, just sticking with the baseline here. So what it does do, instead of damage, is it ensures that the other enemies hit, and that's with the marker rifle that it's got. It can be activated as a skirmish action, so you can do that and a lock-on the same turn. So, if you wanted, you can spread it out, like give one guy lock-on just as the quick tech, and then the other guy hit it with a marker rifle. Then he's got a lock-on him, but also he's shredded. Right? So, this doesn't really matter much at first level, because Everest, they don't have armor, but that can get really handy if you're dealing with, say, a Tortuga or a Drake. That kind of thing. You want to be looking towards the future and thinking about, okay, well, what's the party going to be doing once they actually get some license levels and leave the Everest behind. Unless they're a real boss, and just stick with the Everest the whole game. Alright, so everything that I've mentioned here, that's all base model stuff. You don't even have to add any features or traits onto them, right? Right, so I'll probably be doing something else with adding features and traits and getting more into customization in a future video if I think about it, or if I really want to do it. Yeah, so the Berserker engages the players in melee. It gets right up front. Then the assault units, they're in range 2. Like I said, range 2 is elastic. The ranges are really just what's around the characters. Range 1 is melee, range 2 is the near distance. This is where the assault units are going to be shooting at the players. If they hit, then it's going to be a lot of damage, and if they miss, it's still going to hit because they're reliable. And then you got the Scout. You probably want to get this on some elevation so that it can at least at least try to hit the party. But what you want to do as the dungeon master is always set up elevation and cover. So it's not just a blank field. I got a blank field right now. This looks like My idea was to set it up like a poker table. I really like the green felt on poker tables, but yeah, this is definitely not an optimal battlefield. What you want to do is put up cover so the party can just make this decision of, okay, let's get behind this cover, let's get behind these rocks, these ruins, these buildings, whatever, so that we don't have to deal with the scout all the time, or deal with it directly. We don't want to get pegged by it. And then that'll also force you as the game master, acting in the position of the tactician for the enemies, is, do the enemies want to just kind of like try to peg at them from range? Do they want to try to get closer, risk getting destroyed? That kind of thing. And maybe something does happen where this assault unit does end up getting close, and then one of the party members gets close to the assault unit. Berserker gets close to the assault unit, and then wabba bam bam, the assault unit gets smashed by the Berserker. And that feels really rewarding to the players, and the Berserker just has this built-in thing where it can attack allies as well as enemies. So that's something that you want to do, and make the player feel rewarded for this kind of thinking and these choice to make this movement towards the other enemies, lure the Berserker in, and do the work for them, make it easier for them. So the tactics here, they're really basic. You want to make combat this you want to make it this puzzle that's kind of simple and isn't really difficult to solve. I mean, really, the way you solve it is just, shoot everybody, take them out, get the treasure under the X. That's how you solve it. But it's really about the choices that you make. You don't really want this to be like some big shonen anime fight where everyone's using all their core powers all the time, uses up all their limited ammunition, that sort of thing. Yeah, that's just really boring, and it can be really stressful for players. Like if it's the end of a mission string where you've already done 2 or 3 others even, then that really feels warranted. It's more like, oh man, I'm really worn out now. I gotta use my core power, or else I just can't take it anymore. So, yeah, tactics here, they're pretty basic, and just it's nothing special, but really this is the standard kind of template that you want to start with, and then you start finagling with things, adding on to them, switching things out, that sort of thing. But generally, I recommend having this 4-man squad and having just one kind of gimmick to them. So that's everything for now. Hope you got something out of this really basic combat theory. Like I said, I might expand more on it in the future and try to show you how to make things really interesting. But until then, or if then, I hope you're having fun with your games, and you can think of something like this to do in the future. Goodbye.